take a look at implementing some of these relationships or some of these data models. For instance, here we have section, and let's insert a couple of sections, right? So db.section and insert. So they have different names: section 1, 2, 3, 4, and different seats, and presumably they might be referencing some courses. They belong to certain courses, yes. So we have 2 sections that belong to course CS101 and 2 sections for CS102. Yes. In a relational database, typically you might have perhaps another table or collection, perhaps called courses, right, where you have courses whose primary key or some unique identifier is CS101 and CS102, right, and that would entail some relationship between these 2 records. Yes. So here we have just a finder, retrieve from me all the sections for the same course, CS101. So that's not new. Here we notice that in this finder we are retrieving from the section all the sections that have a course. Course CS101. There's 2 sections, but we're adding an additional attribute here. We're saying seats 12. See that? So that's treated like an and. Right? It has to match this criteria and it has to meet this other criteria. Right? It's a pattern match. Right? And so both of them have to be true. And there's only one section for CS101 that has 12 seats. Right? If there were multiple sections with the same seats, then it would return multiple objects, multiple documents. Here we're saying the seats that are greater than 30. So there are 4 sections. 2 of them are greater than 30. So there's these 2. You can also have combine all sorts of Boolean operations where you can have where it's the seats are between 30 and 40, right, and seats are greater than 30 or less than 40. So it returns just one section that meets that criteria. This section 03. You can also just like we did before, we used pretty, right? Pretty was used for transforming the output that came out, just adding as special white spaces for us to be able to parse it. There's quite a few other transformations that you can do. For instance, sort. Sort also transform the output that comes back. Right? It reorders it based on a criteria that you give it here. You're saying seats equal to 1, meaning we want it sorted in increasing order. So we get them in increasing order: seats 12, 34, and 45. Or if you want in decrementing order, you can say seats -1 and it decrements it. You can also provide a combination of seats and dates and whatnot, right? And just comma separate it. It will first order by first, and then second and then third elements that you provide in that JSON object in the order of the fields that you declare in there. And you can alternate, 1 minus 1, 1 minus 1, right? You can do increment, decrement, increment, decrement. Right. So notice that this is not doing anything to the original data, right? The original data is always unsorted, right? Typically, it will be in the order that were inserted into the database. You should not assume any particular order, right? As far as you're concerned, the data is unordered. It is only ordered for your purpose, right? For your visual cortex, right? To be able to consume the data in a particular order, just for your convenience, right? It doesn't affect the original data. Here's just a couple of other comparison operators that you might want to look at. There's equals, not greater than or equal, in, right? So if you have an array, right, it will iterate over that array, comparing the original value against all the values in that array, and then if it's in that array, it'll be selected. That document will be selected. There's less than and less than or equal. We have not equal and not in. Right, so there's quite a few operators. There's a couple of Boolean operators and not, nor, or. Here's a link to the documentation if you want to take a look at that. There's also a couple of operators where you can group, like you can in by a particular field. You can skip, count how many records came back. All right, so let's take a look at update. So we already took a brief look at this. We in our demo, we did a section update here. Notice that to be just showing you to be careful. Where in that example here we are replacing the document, right? In the first example here, what we really meant is to use set, right? Where we are changing the state of a particular document, right? And remove allows us to remove the document. Yes.
Can you update various objects with one?
Yeah, sure. You can say set, right? And this could be an object, comma, right? And then it could be all the fields that we want to change. If the fields don't exist, it will just be added to that document if they weren't there originally. Yep. One limitation is that you can't refer to fields of documents that is already there. So you can't say seats is equal to whatever the seats used to be minus 1. And that's one limitation, right? Which is common in relational databases, right? You could say, update, and you want to change the field, and you can refer to the current value of whatever the field is there, and then minus 1 or concatenate it or do something, whatever you want. Unfortunately, you cannot refer to the values of fields that are already in the document. So that's one minor limitation. You would have to read the document, store it, and then update it later. So yeah, we have remove. Here's just a couple of other insert commands where you can just insert one document. You can insert an array of documents, right? You can copy from one collection into another collection. There's all sorts of operations where you can generate new data. You can also update just one. You can update multiple documents that match a criteria, or you can just replace a single document that matches a filter. There's also delete. So there's quite a different versions of these operations. I encourage you to read up on this documentation. We're not in our quizzes or exams. We're only going to be using the most common one, right? So I'll be asking about remove and update and delete and insert. I won't be asking anyone specific of delete one or delete many. But nevertheless, I encourage you to read up on it